Black Cool.
Welcome again to another episode of Real Estate Talk with Lisa. I'm so glad that you're joining us. As you know, we're on the air from 2:30 to 3:30 every Thursday at the WBGR on the Wellness Network. So we kicked off last month the beginning of this month talking about Prince George's County real estate development news and what's going on in the county. And I promised you last week that we're going to talk about real estate in terms of being a landlord and owning property. So we're going to talk about that today and how you can be a building owner. I know sometimes you've seen those buildings and you're like, man, I'd like to own one of those. You have those visions, collecting rents, right? And thinking, I can set myself up as a landlord. You're kind of wondering, how am I going to qualify for that? What's all involved? I can't do it, but we're here to tell you that you can do it. So my guests today are going to be Steve Vlahos with RTS, that's Realty Title Services. He's going to talk to you about some of the legalities and landlord issues that you may have with purchasing a building. And we're talking about 4 units specifically today, 4 units or less, which still would be done as a residential purchase. So that average person that's looking for a townhouse or a single family home would qualify for that type of purchase. Once you get above 4 units, you're looking at a commercial purchase, which we're going to address on another show. Now, also have Brian Washington here. You guys know Brian. He's a returning guest with Prime Lending. Good to have you today, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
And Brian's going to talk to you about how you finance that, what lenders are looking at when they're qualifying you for that, and why not disqualified because you're originally looking at maybe a single family home purchase. And our third guest is going to be joining us after the break is Mr. Lance Macon. He's a 20-year real estate veteran that also handles Metro Home Managers. Is his company. He's also part of the Metro Home Locators team with Keller Williams Preferred Properties. But he has that unique perspective of having been a realtor and also looking at property management, because some of you may be concerned with, okay, I can see how I can finance it. I think I can understand the laws, but I don't really want somebody knocking on my door at like 3 a.m. telling me the toilet stopped up because they know I own the building. How do I get around that? So this is going to take that part of the headache of being a property landlord kind of off your plate, show you how you can manage that. So what we expect is at the end of this segment today, you'll have a full understanding of how to finance it, what the laws are, and how to manage it once you get it. So you guys sit tight, stay tuned. We got a great show for you. Now, before I start with my first guest, I do want to thank my team, Reba Burris Barnes and Reba Associates International. Always gets the announcements out, gives you little notes about who our guests are going to be. I want to thank her. I want to thank our team photographer, Nicole King, and all of you. I want to give I've watched more of you follow the page. I like to interchange with the comments, and we're always feedback. I know these guys want to know, did you enjoy what you heard? So make sure that you like the page, you share it, and you give us some feedback. I did want to make one community service announcement that I wanted to share with you. The Catholic Charity Center. They're located at 5859 Allentown Way in Temple Hills, are providing dental and medical services. They're also providing immigration and legal services. It's free. And so I wanted to share that announcement with you. Sometimes we look at our neighbors and we think, everything is fine. You never know who may need this information. I'm going to post it on the page. The phone number to reach them is 301 615 0950. That's 301 615 0950. So if you're struggling with any of these issues, here's some help that you can get. So all right, let's get into the meat of our show today. So Steve,
it's me.
How'd you get into title work?
Well, interesting that you bring that up. And I'll tell you.
Basically, I was working as an attorney. I speak two languages. I speak actually three languages. I speak Spanish fluently and Greek fluently.
Okay.
And I was with a law firm many years ago that where I was doing had a lot of clients who were bilingual, a lot of
Right.
Latino clients.
Yes.
And our firm had a client who was a large mortgage company. And
Okay.
they kept coming to me and saying, you know, we have a lack of attorneys who are bilingual that are doing closings and doing title work. We have a growing population. In fact, as you know, we have one of the largest Spanish speaking populations in the country
That's true.
in this area, in
That's
Washington,
right.
D.C. area.
Yes.
And yet they were being underserved. They
Hmm.
had people that were conducting settlements who maybe were assistants, they weren't licensed. They didn't have very few titled attorneys conducting
Mm.
settlements and explaining things to clients in their native language,
That's good.
um, just having someone to translate. So it was an opportunity, and the firm I was with opened up a title company and put me in there. And the rest is history. So
Yes. Yes.
years later,
Here we are.
I joke around that I had a full head of hair back then. And it was dark, but
Uh-huh.
that's called aging.
Yes. Yes.
So, but
Wisdom. It's
it
wisdom.
is wisdom. Yes, and I'm very wise. But it's been actually very rewarding because
Yes.
it is a great field. That one of the nicest things about practicing the title business is, prior I used to do criminal defense work for many years, and I used to see people at their lowest.
Yes.
Now I get to share the joy of a first-time home buyer.
That's
And
right.
I've got to tell you, it doesn't get old.
That's true.
I still
That's
have
true.
to tell you every time I sit down at a settlement and it's someone fulfilling a dream. And just last week, I had a couple who was from Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And partway through, he asked for a box of tissues. And I thought maybe a cold or something. And he got emotional. He said, "This is my dream." For 10 years, he came to this
Wow.
country with $5 in his pocket and he was buying his first home.
That's
There's something
excellent.
special
Yes.
about being a part of that. And I have
Yes.
to tell you, it's, just it makes you take your job every day.
That's right. Now, I do want to make note. I didn't say this when I introduced you. I'm a active licensed real estate agent with Fairfax Realty, and RTS is actually our affiliated title company. So I've actually crossed the table with Steve
Last
several
month.
times. Yes, yes, with my clients. And what I can say is that as a title company, they are always accessible to me. I haven't had any trouble. Like I keep calling them, they don't call me back. My clients have been able to call them when I've had a client that after we closed on the property, and I think we talked about this right before the last settlement, they needed to change the deed
Right.
to a different name, and it was a challenging one because it was in Baltimore, and there's a lot of hoops that had to be jumped through. But Steve was really persistent. He said, "I finally got it done." He had to put paperwork in several times. I just want to acknowledge that they have a great program and working with agents for Fairfax. They offer some incentives to our clients, and they're always accessible. And even if you're not a Fairfax agent, they're a good choice for a title company.
Thank you.
So I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to let people know that.
Realty Title Services, which is the formal name of RTS, is correct. The affiliated title company with Fairfax Realty, but we have many clients that are outside of Fairfax.
Correct.
We have 15 offices, which is Silver Spring, Tyson's, and Falls Church.
Hmm.
And we do a lot of traveling too.
Yeah, that's
We
true.
travel to different offices
Yeah.
for closings. Last week, I think I went to Baltimore once. I
Okay.
went to Rockville, Germantown. So we do that. We believe it's a service-oriented company. And we
Right.
believe in servicing our clients. I do something that people sometimes say I'm crazy, but I'll pull out. I give my cell phone number on my card, and I said, "Well, why do you do that?" And I said, "Well, the reality is we're here to serve our clients and the realtors that we work with, and many times realtors work around the
True.
they don't
Yes,
work
we
9 to
do.
5.
No.
Real estate business is not a 9 to 5 business anymore.
That's
you
right.
tell me.
Man.
I should have told you that before you.
With all the technology too. Yes.
It's not. It's so constantly. They're meeting with clients on the weekends and after hours. And there's always that time that the realtor needs to get a question solved. And
Right.
it's make or break a deal. So if it means him calling me on the weekend to ask me that one simple question that I can answer, that's going to win the deal over. That's worth it.
That's right.
That's worth it. So,
That's right.
and a lot of times people can't get out of work. So some settlements do sometimes creep into the evening hours. I try to cap it off at a certain time, but I don't want to be doing it at midnight. But there's times that we've been there late at
That's
the end
right.
of the month trying to get closings. It's just
But
what
that
we do.
flexibility is a key thing because, like you said, sometimes your client is not like as a realtor, we're kind of used to that flexible schedule. You know, we can come and go. But if you got somebody that's stuck in a 9 to 5, you know, they've been getting off of work early to go see the properties. You know, if it's wintertime or they've been tying up all their Saturdays, they can't keep going to their supervisor saying, you know, I need to get off early again because just qualify for the loan, right?
And sometimes
Like,
by the skin
they
of the
need
teeth.
those hours. Can be showing no change in the paychecks, you know, right before it's time to close. So knowing that you have a title company that can be flexible with you is also a key thing.
We've had it several times. I had an agent that called me just really distraught because there was some issues with the loan was kept getting delayed because of various reasons, and they took it off 2 days of work, and they just could not take off any more day of work.
That's
I'm like,
right.
we'll work around it.
That's exactly right.
You have to be flexible. This is the new normal.
That's right. That's right.
But it is rewarding. It is rewarding. I always say it's never dull.
True.
You know, everyone's
I can
like,
believe
well, doesn't
that.
it? You know, because we deal with paperwork, and everyone
That's right.
thinks, oh, it's paperwork. Every file, every sale there's a different story.
That's right.
And one of the nicest things is when I get to meet people at closings, I get to hear their story. That's true. And everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. So now, one of the reasons why I had you come on with us today for our particular topic of being a building owner, if you're looking at 4 unit or less, now you may find some that are less, but when you're looking at that traditional, 2 units on the bottom and 2 units on the
Right.
top, you primarily find those in DC.
Oh, yeah.
And so with that in mind, there are certain legalities going in to put an offer in for a property that if it has tenants, there's a certain process that the district has you follow, and it's really important that that you have a company, but not familiar, but able to communicate what's
Correct.
going on with you, because it's one thing for them to know, because they have to know, it's part of their job, but you need somebody who can explain it to you in plain English what's going on. Can you share a
And that's
little
what
bit?
I'm going to do today.
Okay.
Today I want to explain, investing in real estate is wonderful. We of course love it on our side of the title
Yes.
business, as you two do.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
But the reality is, you need to protect yourself. So
Right.
as an attorney, I often say to clients, I look at them and I said, "Do you want to be? But you need to. You want to hear."
Yes.
And I say as a joke. The reality
Yeah.
is, many times people ask us questions in certain ways because they want to hear a certain answer. My
Right.
job as an attorney
Yes.
is really to explain to you what you need to know, because there are things that are not necessarily your fault, but will be your problem. Our job is to protect it. Sometimes I don't know that I would want to say we play the bad guy but we want to make sure that the transaction works, because at the end of the day, as a purchaser, you're holding a bag. You're investing money in real
That's right.
estate, and nowadays you have people that are new to the business,
Yes.
and they think they hear things, they hear words, they have these investment classes. You've got to be cautious.
True.
Cautious in everything you do, and investing. First of all, any real estate property that you buy, I just think you were foolish if you don't purchase your title insurance. And that's us as a company we purchased.
You agree, Brian?
Absolutely.
They won't lend. The lenders will not lend you a dime without them being insured. Yet I have people that say, well, do I really need this? And because it's really optional. So the reality is, title insurance is optional.
Right.
But, I tell people, you have car insurance, right? Technically, legally, you only need liability.
Right.
But who has only liability? Don't you have full coverage?
Right.
So the reality is, you're putting a lot of money into your home. And, they'll say to me, well, but you're doing a title search. That's correct. We are doing a title search. We do a very thorough job. But there's so many things that can come on. There are things that can be missed. There's human error. There's things that can be misindexed. To purchase real property and not be insured is foolish.
I agree.
I
agree.
And I always say people will do it to save a few dollars, but it's penny wise and pound foolish. So what your protection is very, very important.
And that's the owner's piece.
The owner's title
Owner.
insurance policy.
Right.
I mean, you have no choice with the lenders.
Right.
And it's a one-time purchase too. It's
one-time
not
purchase.
it's not something that you got to buy every year. But for that one-time purchase, to be safe for the rest of the time that you're in your property, to be protected. That's
so much
can
can
be done.
happen. I also, as a title, see the dark side of things. I wrote a titles on a day-to-day basis, and I will review and see issues that come up where I need to go to the seller and say, I need your title policy, because there's an issue that could have happened in the chain of title that was missed in the last transaction, or the last title company didn't clear something.
That's true.
I'm constantly seeing those issues, and our real estate industry has gone through a lot of changes and a lot of roller
Yeah,
coasters the last
true.
10 to 15 years. So
Yeah.
10 years ago was a different world, a different market, a different time.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And from, I would say, 2003 to 2008, everybody was opening up title companies and mortgage companies into real estate.
That's right.
So you go back, these companies are no longer in business.
That's true.
So I literally have to chase things down, and it's caused a lot of delays on files. So I said, just, give yourself that peace of mind and get the title insurance policy. It's really imperative that you do it. And I really encourage agents to do that as well, because a lot of agents will say, well, save a little bit of money. And I said, there's certain places that you save money on,
Right.
not on your insurance,
Right.
not in your protection of your biggest investment of your life.
That's right.
So, with that being said, I go into some of the issues that you need to worry about in DC. And number one, you find yourself a good realtor and you want to make sure you get a good title company. You want to make sure that someone's doing a thorough title search. You want everything above board. I get people that call me and say, oh, I'm doing a transaction and I'm buying it, but we're not using a title company. And I said, stop. Another transaction. That's
Yes.
So careful of anything that is too good to be true. Is
Yes.
probably too good to be
That's
true.
right. That's right.
I had a mentor in this business, an attorney that always talked to me one thing. He said, if someone's trying to rush you, they're trying to cheat you. So there's no deal that has to be done within 10 days or the world's going to end. Absolutely not. So be prudent. Make sure you have every I dotted and every T crossed.
Okay.
So buying a 4-unit or anywhere, in DC, there's a plethora of units that are
Yes.
actually from 1 unit to 2, 3, 4, a lot of duplexes. We've done a lot of transactions where they're the 4 units, where there's like 2 units on top, 2 units on bottom.
Right.
And they're residential.
Yes.
They're considered residential. Now, the issue that has to be addressed is TOPA, which sends shivers up many.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Many realtors,
Stop your
many
transaction.
people. And I'm going to talk a little bit about TOPA, and
Okay.
it's going to seem a little unfair, and yes, it's unfair, but it's what we have to deal with in DC. TOPA stands for Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, and it was created by the DC government, and the idea was very good. It was really to protect tenants and properties. What it means is, if you have a property and there's a tenant in there, and the current owner of the property wants to sell the property to a third party,
Yes.
they have to then offer that to the tenant as well. So, case in point, you own a single family house and you have a person living there, and you want to sell it. You have to offer, you can list the property, but if you get a contract in from any third party, you then have to serve that on the tenant and show them, and they have an opportunity to match that and purchase the property. And we've had it happen. About a year ago, I had a woman, she got served, she decided, I can buy you this house. And she
Okay.
brought in her granddaughter, and she'd
Wow.
been living there for 30 years, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And
She said, I'm not moving.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, where am I going to go at this point?
Right.
And so she ended up buying the property and qualifying and matched it, and everything was great. That's the ideal situation. The problem is there's a lot of work that goes into it. So when someone says, I want to sell this property in 2 weeks, it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen if you have a TOPA situation. This issue is on any of these properties, and even on a 4-unit, you must serve each tenant in those properties individually.
Yes.
So if you have 2 people renting together, doesn't matter. Not one contract. Each of them has to be served with a special form that's developed by the Department of Housing and Community Development.
That's correct.
And it's a TOPA form that has to be filled out. By the way, this is by the listing agent. So if you're listing a property, you want to make sure that you have an agent that knows TOPA, knows how to handle it. Many of the agents do. I mean, there's many agents that know how to properly handle this. They follow a guideline. They have to send the tenant with a copy of the contract with this notice of the sale by
right.
certified mail, and then show proof of that certified mail. And then they have to take and file the copy of the letter that they've served, a copy of the proof of certification, and the contract with the Housing Community Development Office in DC on each tenant. And then it's up to the title company. We have to receive copies of that as well to our file, and then we have to request a review letter from the Department of Housing and Community Development that actually is produced, that basically states that this was followed along the guidelines and that there's been no claim or request or offer. So, for instance, the tenant has a certain period of time, roughly about 45 days when all said and done. That's
Right.
into the little details. They have about 45 days to come forward and file a letter or something with the Department of Housing and Community Development stating that they would like to use their right, exercise their right.
Exercise. Right. That's right. Yes.
Now, it sounds pretty cut and dry. You get everything done. There's also a tenant's affidavit that most of our underwriters, we underwrite for First American Title Insurance, request that we do is we go to the it's usually a notarized affidavit that the tenant will say, look, I don't want it. It's extra insurance for the purchaser, for the seller, saying, listen, there's no way I can afford to buy this. They sign an affidavit stating that they don't want it. And that sounds great. And we get the letter of review, everything's good, and the deal can go through. But I think here's the issue. What constitutes a lot of these terms is what gets gray areas. What's a tenant?
Okay.
Okay? Ready
Okay.
for this?
I'm ready.
It's good stuff, right?
Go
You would
on.
think, so I want you to take logic
Uh-huh.
and maybe throw it out the window for a moment.
Okay.
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 Because TUPWA is not always logical.
Okay.
First of all, that tenant has a right to obviously exercise their right to purchase the property, which sounds like that would be a fair thing. I think you all agree with me.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
There's a little caveat to that. The tenant can sell their right to exercise and purchase to a third party for consideration. So, let's say Brian is purchasing a house, and there's a property. They serve the property, and you're buying it for a certain amount of money. There could be some seedy investors who think, hey, I'd like to get that price. I want to get the house. They can offer $5,000 to the tenant and say, listen, I'm giving you $5,000. I want to then transfer your right to me, and I will exercise and buy it from under you. So I don't know where
Wow.
that's really fair or why that would be something that is allowed,
Yep.
but it is allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the biggest problem. Usually the concern with the TOPA issues aren't so much that a tenant is going to, usually the landlord has a clue if the tenant can afford it because they've all been in communication,
Right.
but it's the fact that they can sell it to a third party. This is the biggest issue, and this has been a big problem in DC, where people have come in and approach, they sign on the door, they knock on the door, they talk to the tenant, do you own the house? No, how much is it sold for? Amount. I'll give you this money, and then they end up getting a good deal on that property. So it's not really a fair thing, but it's legal in DC.
That way, that first buyer may lose out.
And this
Because they've
happens all
already-
the time. Actually, this has been an unfair thing that we've been talking about in the title business for a few years. And finally, last spring, Side finally gave a report on it.
Okay.
The media, it finally went to the media because so many people were starting to come forward, and people that have moved to DC, not DC natives, who just were so frustrated with dealing with it.
Right.
So it's actually being addressed, though nothing's been no changes to it.
Okay.
And then we come to the termination of what's
Okay.
anyone living in that house. So you have situations that get very, very complex. I'm in the middle of dealing with a little bit of a headache on a TOPA file right now, so I can give you firsthand information. But I have a situation where there was a tenant in a property. She was served. After everything was done, the listing agent made a comment, what about her son and her mother? And I said, no one, son and mother. She said, well, there's a son who's living in the property who was over 18. He was actually 21.
Okay.
And her mother. They had to be served as well. Because
Okay.
they were adults living in the house, it was known, and they each had to be served as well.
Even though they weren't
Even though they weren't on the
the
list.
actual tenants.
So it really has to be a level of due diligence done on the part of a listing agent or someone on that property to know who is living in the property. And they need a list of everyone. They'll have to be served.
And you mentioned, the thing there is you don't want your transaction as a listing agent to get derailed because
Absolutely.
of that piece
Absolutely.
right there.
And
When
it
you
does.
already have inherent extra time for the tenants to be served and to have that piece
Absolutely.
addressed, initially. So you want to try to avoid those headaches by doing your due diligence.
Well, also there. What is it? No deed, good deed goes unpunished.
Unpunished, yes.
Right.
Another situation was an estate case that we had, where the personal representative of the state, so an older gentleman had died, had a pretty good sizable family. One of his daughters was a personal representative, and one of her nephews had needed a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
So out of the goodness of her heart, she says, "Well, you can come and stay in the house while we're, working up things with the estate because it was the family home." He didn't really want to leave.
Mm.
Why
Okay.
would he? He's there rent free,
Yes,
So,
yes.
and I hate to say that DC tenants are pretty savvy,
Mm-hmm.
and he learned that he had these rights.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "I'm not leaving,"
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't. They had to serve. He had to be served with TOPA,
Mm.
and they had to actually try to do an eviction, but they had to serve him. They had to make sure. So he held up, and then he decided to play a game,
Mm-hmm.
where what happens is if you send a letter in saying that you want to exercise your right, you're given more
Extra
time.
more time. Yes.
So he
Time.
held up a transaction to sell that house for over 6 months to 7 months, while they worked on it. And then finally, I think they came to a mutual solution where the state had paid him some money, and they came to an agreement, worked it out where he vacated, and he was agreeing to sign over his tenant's rights. So this was an interesting case, but this is a case where this is something to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
There is
right.
also several different tenancy advocacy groups,
Mm-hmm.
and free legal services that people go to in DC, and
Mhm.
all they do is give us. I mean, and I'm not gonna make it sound like everyone is abusing the system because there's some good aspects of this. There's an idea behind TOPA and it had a good purpose, but it's been abused.
Mm-hmm.
And many people know that there's ways to play the system where you can go in and you can get a free advocate and tell them how horrible the situation is. And, there's people that'll just automatically come to your defense and file these cases. And it's almost as if the DC government looked at every landlord and investor kind of that we're seeding this business.
Mm-hmm. Certain bias.
It is,
Mhm.
unfortunately. So these are things to really be concerned when you're going in there. So how do you protect yourself is bottom line.
Right.
You know this information. You want to make sure that you have number one title insurance and does not take an exception to TOPA rights. Because here's what's really odd is title companies will tell you, okay, we can close this, but we're going to take an exception to TOPA, which means they won't insure the property, the title. There's an issue filed by one of the former tenants.
Ah, okay.
Okay? Make sure, as a purchaser, you just need to make sure that you have the TOPA coverage and that you get a title policy at the table when you purchase. You make sure this, and on the selling side, you need to make sure the number one, you know who's in the property, you know who's there, have it documented, make sure that the agent that you're working with serves those people properly, make sure that they file everything with the Department of Housing and Community Development, and give yourself adequate time. There's nothing that can be rushed through.
Mm-hmm. Especially in this case.
No, you can't. You really
Mhm.
can't. This can end up in litigation for years. Will cost you more.
Okay.
So in doing that, you just again want to make sure that you have all your bases covered,
Mm-hmm.
and understand that this is what is existing. And is it fair? I would probably argue as a tax attorney, it's not the most fair system, but until it changes, this is what we have to deal with.
You just need to be knowledgeable. So, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. So, what my takeaways from that are it's not impossible. It's not, so don't look at this as a deterrent because knowledge is power.
Right.
So now you know what to be looking for when you're going in. You know what questions to ask your agent if you're the buyer. And I may have some viewers today that have some 4 units. They're tired of living in the DC area. They're ready to move to Florida or Arizona where it's always hot and especially after the recent weather, right? And they're ready to give up that 4-unit building and they're thinking about listening. They've been kind of wavering. So now you've gotten kind of a little short course on what you need to be aware of when you're interviewing the agent that's going to list your building. You need to talk to them to make sure that they understand or are knowledgeable about the steps to take. And you have the option to select the title that you want to work with. So you want to also work with a title company that is familiar with the issues, that can guide you, can let you know, okay, put the brakes on right here. This is a reasonable time frame for this, so that you're protected.
Absolutely.
So Steve, I want to thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Lisa.
for joining us. Outstanding
Always.
information.
Absolutely.
And we're going to bring Brian back. He's going to talk to us about how to buy that building, and we're going to have Lance is going to tell us how we're going to manage it right after this break. Thank you. All right, we can change our seating. Steve, outstanding job.
Thank you very
I
much.
always learn something
job.
when I'm
Too many wars instead of love and peace. Every year there seems to be a new disease somewhere. Father's life is not a child to be free. Some folks say the ice cap is melting away. There are catastrophes every day. People wake up, can't you see the signs? If you wanna survive. Right there on your side. I know you'll make it. That's the only way you make it. You and me, God in our lives, yeah. That's what we need to.
Are we back? We good? We good? Okay, good. All right, so we're back. I hope that you guys got a lot out of our first segment. I know I did, even though I'm familiar with TOPA. It's a good refresher and good reminder of the things to be aware of when we're going into the marketplace. So now I've got Brian here. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna pull up some things on my phone because you guys know I got the glasses off somewhere around here. I can't have it all going on at the same time. Where they at, guys?
Right behind the phone.
Why behind? See, I'm telling you, man, it's rough. You know, I know none of you guys have these eye problems. This is me, right? I'm like, let me see. So, but I want you. Can you give us some insight, starting off on what the market rates look like?
Market rates, generally speaking, we have a great stock market right now. So,
Okay, that's good.
that's a good thing for retirement in stocks and things like that.
Okay.
It does mean you've got some competing forces when it comes to interest rates itself. So interest rates are ticking up
Okay.
as the economy's improving. You see companies giving bonuses. I think.
Yeah.
Airlines.
I think I'm money
Walmart.
back on my like my gas bill or something. I'm
Right.
like, okay, good,
Right.
go for that.
Yeah.
You
So-
know.
So when the economy's doing well, interest rates they tick up.
Right.
Right? So
Yes.
so we do have that.
Okay, very good. So now what we were looking at was in terms of purchasing and refinancing, what are you seeing going on in the market now?
Most of my phone calls now, especially these days, are actually purchases. Many people are getting ready to get out here in the spring market, and some are
Yes.
taking advantage of the market as it stands today. And we really do encourage our clients to get in now, because this is another way to catch real estate on sale.
That's right. It is. It
Yeah.
really is. Because what I found is when spring happens, you have the families that have children in school
Yes.
that are now they don't want to displace them during the school year. So spring they're on the hunt because they're ready. They want to have everything settled by the time school starts at the end of August. That
Right.
they've purchased and they're good to go. And sellers, please put your homes on the market. I have buyers that are looking for homes.
Right.
I need to either list your home for you, or I need to have my buyers come to your home. 301-542-5168. List your home.
Home.
Get it out there.
Yeah,
So
got plenty of buyers.
yes, I mean, and that inventory. I'm not saying you can name your own price, but hey, you can probably get some of the best pricing now than you might have had in the past, just because of the scarcity of inventory. So give me a call. We'll do a free consultation and talk about what we can do with that. Now, with that in mind, when we're looking at purchasing the units, because that's what we were talking about, what time of financing do you have for that?
Well, first of all, let me just say I absolutely love multifamily financing.
Okay.
I think it's one of the best ways to purchase a home, whether you're young, just starting out, maybe you were trying to downsize even, quite frankly.
That's right.
Because it's another way to deal with the real cost of life. And if you are owning a home and you have other people actually helping to pay for rent,
Yes.
it's a beautiful
It's
thing.
a beautiful
It's
thing.
a beautiful thing. And I'm so happy that our company, Prime Lending, who's a direct lender,
Right.
we're a national organization, that we have all these products. We can help a person finance a multifamily property with conventional financing, VA financing, and FHA financing.
So you got multiple options.
Multiple options
To-
to
to-
help a
to
person
purchase.
to
Okay.
purchase a home.
So now, I've gone in, and I've seen my lender, and, I really haven't thought about doing a multi-family property. And I've gotten qualified for single family home. And then, I see something, I ride by, my husband or girlfriend, and they're saying, man, you ever thought about, getting one of those buildings? Like, yeah, but, I'm only qualified for, this single family home. I don't think it's enough to actually buy like a whole building. How does that work?
Excellent question. Most people think that the three things that we look at when clients trying to purchase a home is income, assets, and credit. And most people have a limit to how much they can purchase in terms of buying the price of a home when they stand on their own.
Right.
The little secret out here is that we can actually qualify a person, okay, using the rents from the dwelling. So
Okay,
if
so
you've got a
you-
unit
you're
one,
Rents.
use those rents, qualify a person to
Okay.
purchase a home.
Heard
And
that.
I've had some great stories when I've seen young people come in and purchase, and all of a sudden they're paying rent, but now they're a young professional or what have you, and they're starting out, they buy this new property, and now all of a sudden they don't have a mortgage. So now this client is looking to trying to figure out, what do I do now with this extra cash? Because I was paying $1,500,
Right.
$1,800 rent. Now I'm being paid
That's right.
to live in this property. And now what do I do? So now it's time to talk to an investment advisor. And
That's right.
et cetera.
That's right.
Pay off debt.
That's right.
If you have student loan debt, this is another way to attack, I think, even student loan debt.
That's right. That's an excellent point, because coupled with that is also like having a plan of what to do with the money. But you can see how that can be made affordable to you. Now, let's say I can see that if the building already has tenants in it.
Right.
Okay. Now, what if they don't have? What if it's a vacant building? Have any tenants yet?
Yeah, first of all, yeah, it can be a scary thing when you're thinking, okay, I'm going to buy a multifamily property, and we all want tenants there.
That's right.
We want rents.
Right,
okay?
that's right.
However, but it's empty.
Yes.
So what do? We actually can use the market rents for the area. So the appraiser will go in and survey the area and determine what does a 1-unit, 1-bath property rent for in this area.
Okay.
And that's logged in on the appraisal.
Okay.
And as a result, we can use that as part of our underwriting package to come out with an approval on the other side.
Okay, excellent. So, guys, it means that you don't have to feel deterred if the building is empty. Like, you can still make it happen. And sometimes
Right.
that can be a good thing. It's great to have a building with tenants, but sometimes, and I mean, I've seen several buildings in DC, visited with friends and things, and the thing about it is sometimes they may be in disrepair and they have tenants. And then your challenge is, how do I fix it up, with the people in there? But if you have a vacant building, you can go ahead and have the whole property. And that can maybe up your rents a little bit, because I think the appraiser would look at that
Yeah,
if you're looking
absolutely.
at getting that fixed up. So that's an option to you. And it gives you a little more freedom in terms of some of the design changes that you want to make to the building. Now, can they get renovation financing if they're getting a building that they would for a regular home?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of our products will allow a person to purchase, and renovate, even if that property is not right now habitable, if you will. And just, you mentioned Steve was just here talking
Right.
about total.
Right.
So when that property is empty, good thing.
Right, because that's not a challenge that you have. So don't be discouraged. It's like, well, it's kind of run down. We've had conversations on here, talking about the shiny penny home versus the fixer upper home, because your focus when you're looking at that building is, I want to produce income for
That's right.
myself, my family, and so you have to have a little bit of a vision when you go into that as to what you can make it. I told you guys before, sometimes I'm short on the vision. I know what I like when they have it all staged. I'm like, oh, that's great. Man, that's exactly that is wonderful. But when I'm thinking about how to put together, that may not be me. But, we have contractors come on. I've got a design contractor we mentioned before, and I'm going to have them come on and talk to us about
But
that,
this is
about
like
having
home.
that. Yeah, I know it is, right? I feel so comfortable. Couch, okay, I'm not Oprah, but this is my couch. But just having someone with can help you navigate that piece of it, and you can go to Brian and put that financing together. You know what your legal rights are. Now that you can afford it, and now you can start to move forward. I know for myself, I've had. Within our team, because I'm with the senior team of Fairfax Realty, so we've had clients in Virginia and Maryland, and watching just the excitement of clients when they are getting a 4-unit
Yes.
building.
Absolutely.
I know one young man in particular, when he was looking at his building, he had tenants in all 3 units except the one that he was going to go in. And the nice thing was the renovations for the other tenanted units was not major. All of the tenants wanted to stay. They liked where they lived, and the unit that needed the most renovation was his. So he didn't have to. Was not a whole lot of upheaval, and they were so excited that he got to meet them all, and they were very excited about the fact that he was going to be taking over the building. And we're going to touch on something about when maybe that's not how you want to be known. But before we go into that, because we're going to talk to Lance about that, I want Brian to tell you how to reach him.
Okay. You can reach me, call me on my cell phone, 202-409-8103. Again, 202-409-8103. You can go out to our website at lo.primelending.com/B Washington. Again, lo.primelending.com/B Washington.
And I just want to remind you, if you're listening, maybe you're just listening to the audio while you're driving, or you're not in a position to record his information, we will have that up on the show's page, Real Estate Talk with Lisa on Facebook. We'll be uploading that because we upload the shows directly there, and we'll also put it in the comments so you can see it on the WBGR Wellness page, and it'll also be on the YouTube version, which will be uploaded later this evening, Real Estate Talk with Lisa on the YouTube side. So, and thank you so much for the information.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, this is for investors or who want to
That's
live
right.
in those properties.
That's
Let me be very
right. So
clear
you don't
about
have to
that.
be, even though we're talking about the residential level of purchase, because we're going to have another show. We're going to talk about commercial, the big complexes. We're going to talk about that very soon. But it doesn't mean that you have to be the owner occupant. You can be an investor. And like Brian mentioned, they have financing products for you as well. Favorable rates,
Yep,
correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because we're only 4 units or less.
That's right. That's right. Now, my scenario that I gave to you about how this particular landlord was really embraced by the tenants coming in. They were happy, with him coming in, and he was fine with them knowing that he was going to be the owner of the building. That's good, but not all building owners feel that way, do they, Lance?
No, that's always the case. Definitely not. Definitely.
Lance's shirt. I don't know if you guys can see his logo, but it's got the big MH with the red triangle above it. It says Metro Home Managers. Now, Lance, like I said before, is a 20-year real estate veteran, correct?
Absolutely.
And he's with Metro Home negotiators, which is a team with Keller Preferred Properties. He is also part of the leader. The second leader is you and Todd.
Correct.
Do this together, partners together. And Metro Home Managers, and they do property management. So tell me what you guys do for those people who don't necessarily want the neighbors just because they know they own the building. They may have an inkling because they saw them at the home inspection or something. Don't want them knocking on the door saying my toilet stopped up.
Yeah, so we are the primary liaison between the owner slash landlord and the tenants.
Okay.
For those people who want to invest and don't want to live on site, or frankly, again, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't want that proverbial knock at the door at
That's
3 o'clock in
it.
the morning
That's it.
saying the toilet's leaking. We are that primary interface. And, our job as property managers ultimately is to preserve value.
That's right.
And a primary component of value is the cash flow that comes from that. And of course, the cash flow comes from the tenants via the rents.
That's right. So, in that piece, I take it you guys can handle the collection of rents.
Correct.
So you don't want, we're talking about knocking on the door when there's a problem with the building, but you may want to have a step or two, a certain degree of separation between you and the financial piece of the tenants, because you may not want to be the one, say, to do the background check
Of course.
and be
Of
the
course.
initial recipient of the applications, correct? And that's something that you
Absolutely.
guys handle?
And we handle all that. Ultimately, being a landlord and owning property, it's a business.
It's a business, that's right.
And it's not one of those things that you can really do part-time and expect to be as successful. Whereas if you use a property manager, this is all we do.
Mm-hmm.
We run backgrounds, we collect rents, we handle that 3 o'clock call. Hopefully they don't come at 3 o'clock. I
That's
prefer,
right.
2 in the afternoon. We
Exactly,
handle those calls
exactly.
when they come. This is all we do. We have the relationships, we have the experience, we have the know-how, and ultimately we make the whole process easier for the landlord. Because again, it is a business, and we handle that business aspect.
Okay. What led you to get into this, as you segued from and you're still doing real estate, folks, he's still doing real estate. So,
I
you know
do-
what I'm
I do-
saying?
I
So
do
you
buy
can,
and
so
sell
you
real
can,
estate
so
as
you
well,
can
yes.
reach out to him as well. He and I are both in the market, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to make it seem like, Lance is retired from real estate and he's only
not.
just, saying, all right, please fill in the highlighted portions of the applications and bring it back up to me. It's not all he's doing. But what made you see this as a natural extension from your real estate?
Well, I've been in real estate for over 20 years, and it's gone all the way from hotels to shopping malls to, anything you can think of, office buildings and things of that nature. Ultimately what it boils down to is I believe in the concept of home and what home can really mean to the rest of your life. Your day starts at home.
That's
when
right.
you wake up, and when home is stable, you have a better start to your day, and hopefully
right.
everything follows. People do better in school, people do better in work. People just enjoy their day-to-day lives a lot
That's
more.
right.
Because I truly believe in that concept, that's why we started this business. And my partner Todd and I literally started this inside his home at his kitchen table one day, and we,
I tell you, these kitchen table businesses are something else, right?
that's where it starts, and it's really blossomed because there's a passion for it. And yes, we still do maintain the brokerage aspect of our business via our relationship with Keller Williams, because ultimately, and because this is a business, for our clients, we want to be able to handle their real estate matters
That's right.
from soup to nuts. So, I have a client right now that's on the market looking for more real estate.
Right.
They want to increase their portfolio, and because I've developed that relationship with them, they look for me to help them find the new component of their model. And owning real estate and being a landlord is not just a kind of singular faceted thing. There's different types of real estate product that you
Right.
can bring to the market. And, there's a strategy that goes to that. And having a qualified property manager really helps you develop that strategy. Ultimately, you can, grow your business. I mean, most people are in business to help grow revenue and grow profits and everything like that.
Exactly.
And that's what we're part of. It's a very important component of our business.
Yeah, I know. For real estate, I have to be licensed. Brian has to be licensed. For the finance part, for mortgage financing. Is there licensing with property management as well?
We are fully licensed in the District of Columbia and in the areas that we serve. Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. So when you're looking at a property manager, you're not just looking just at it's not just a notion. It's actually a trained professional.
Absolutely.
That you're looking at. Now, in terms of services, do you tend to have tiered or a la carte services where a person they want this part of the service, but maybe they don't need that part? Do you kind of customize for them?
Absolutely. Our business model is designed to work with the smaller investors, people who have unique needs.
Okay.
And we really believe that because each person, each owner, each business person has unique needs, our management contracts should be developed to address the things that they need, and it's priced accordingly. And we found that to be very successful because there are others who will just put out a flat price,
Right.
and
That's
don't
what
believe
I
that
was
you
asking,
should have
yes.
to pay for matters that really aren't important to you.
Exactly. That's good because I wanted to ask you that because someone may be sitting back in there. They saw the title for the show. They were excited. I said, "I'm gonna get a building. They're gonna tell me how to get a building." Then Steve, hit them with Tope, and they were kind of like, "Well, I don't know. Do I want to get a building?" Then we encourage them because Steve encouraged them. Said no, it's just to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So now you're ready. You armed with the knowledge to make the best decision, to know how to select your realtor, your title company. To have a game plan in mind in terms of the time frame it's going to take to develop this thing and bring it to fruition. And then Brian encouraged him. He gave him information about what the financial is going to be. And then we talked about the property management because then they started thinking about those people and how do I handle that part. And so I wanted to make sure because I already read up on your company. I do that when people come on. I read. Okay.
All right.
They may not see me till the day of the show. I have not met prior to our show date, but I do check them out. So that's why I asked them the questions that I asked. But I wanted for you to be able to emphasize to them that it can still fit within the budget because you're thinking about the income coming in, but now you hear last, you're thinking about the income going out, and you're thinking, okay, is it really worth it at the end if I get this building, and it's producing the income that I got to pay? But see, Lance's job is to make sure that the income keeps coming in.
Right.
He's gonna
controlling those expenses so that we have a better handle on cash is going out as well.
Exactly. So in terms of whether it's maintenance issues, building issues, depending on how you structured your agreement with them in terms of the things that you want them to keep an eye on and to manage for you, if there's a rent that's not coming in, it's delinquent, you guys already have a plan in place. And they, of course, can guide you based on the tenancy laws.
Absolutely.
For the jurisdiction where your property is.
Absolutely.
Because that's something that, as a new landlord, you may not know.
It's actually pretty interesting that, a lot of people become landlords. Some want to go out and they'll buy the building, but some people become landlords because, particularly here in this metropolitan area, we have a lot of diplomats, military,
Right.
and they're living in their home and they find out moving overseas, for example, for a couple of years.
That's a good
Or
point,
something
yes.
like that, or maybe they were passed down in the generation, from generation to generation. Some real estate came into their hand, and so they come into a situation where they are owning and running a building / a business. They don't know the rules, and this is where we come in. We have relationships with attorneys. We're studied up on the different rules. and what happens in Prince George's County is different than what happens in Montgomery County,
That's
which is
right.
very different than what happens in the District of Columbia. So we need to know these things, and it's really important to have a partner and an advisor in your business who can help you with those things. Absolutely.
Correct. So I think if you look at what we presented to you today with 3 guests, this is kind of like a tutorial. It's Building Owner 101.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I want, Lance, I want you to tell them what's the best way to reach you.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can reach me via my cell phone. It's 240-718-8023. And we have a website, metrohomemanagers.com. And we'd really be more than pleased to answer any questions that you have.
Very good, very good. And like I said before, I will have their information posted up on our Facebook page by the close of the day once we finish the show, so that you can reach out to them. Any questions that you post on the wellness page or on the Facebook page, you find that we're generally pretty responsive in terms of either passing your request on to the guest or responding to you. As I mentioned before, I'm an active licensed agent in the state of Maryland. I'm currently doing free consultations during the month of January to kind of get you focused on where you want to be, what your real estate dream is, and how to get there. Lance is also taking clients both on the real estate side and the property management side, so be aware of that. And Brian's door is always open. I found him, I have clients that are working with him, and I found him responsive when I reach out to him about a particular client that may be working with him, or with a particular financing issue that I have a question about. He's been very responsive and very supportive of the show. So like I told you, we have great things planned for you. We have more coming this month. So I want you to stay tuned. Check our page for new dates for your friends that may not be Facebook folks, but they have the internet, because very few people, maybe possibly rural Kansas, but probably not, don't have the internet. That's why we opened up the YouTube channel to post there for those of you that may not be on Facebook or have friends that you think can use the information. So it's there everywhere, and we want you to share it. We want you to follow the page because we want to be of benefit to you. We want to add that value to you. I want to thank you again for tuning in today. It's been a pleasure to be your host, and I'll see you at the show.
You gotta keep God on your side.
As always.
That is how you